الآن يمكنكم المشاركة في مبادرة الأيام الرقمية تحت شعار انطلق بقوة مع جوجل، والتي يتناول فيها خبراء جوجل عناوين جديدة أسبوعيا مثل السحابيات، مهارات من جوجل، أندرويد، فلتر، ذكاء الآلة، فايربيس، ديزاين ثينكينج، مقسمة إلى دورات وورشات عمل يومية بالإضافة إلى مسابقات أسبوعية. شاهد الأيام الرقمية مباشرة على اليوتيوب وشارك رأيك وأسئلتك مع خبراء جوجل، واحصل على شهادة حضور في كل محاضرة تشترك فيها. هذا وأكثر من الأحد إلى الخميس ابتداء من الساعة 9 بتوقيت دبي عبر الرابط المبين youtube.com/gdgmena.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أهلا بكم في عدد جديد من Digital Days، الأيام الرقمية لخبراء جوجل. معكم عليان عبد النور، GDG تيزيوزو and GDE جوجل كلاود اكسبرت. سأكون معكم إن شاء الله من خلال هذه الحصة، أين سنتعلم أشياء جديدة عن جوجل كلاود وعن بايثون. طبعا السيشن ستكون بالإنجليزي، لكن إذا كانت لديكم أي أسئلة بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي يمكنكم طرحها وسنجيب عليها بإذن الله. Hello everyone, Azul Filawan. I'm Alian Abdanor, GDG Tiziuzu from Algeria. I'm a GDE, Google Developer Expert in Google Cloud. I will be with you in this hour where we are going to explore new stuff on Google Cloud. And of course, if you have any questions, you can ask them, we will answer. So last session, we did an introduction on Python, and of course this is a series where we are going from scratch, from zero, and then we will see how we are going to host and develop a simple web page, a Python web application, and then we will try to host it on Google Cloud in different ways. So that's why we are going slowly with the basics. We saw Linux, and then we saw what is Python. Today, inshallah, we are going to see how Python is used in Google Cloud. So to start with it, so everything begin with this product, which is called App Engine. So let me zoom so everyone can see that. So everything started with App Engine. So the story behind App Engine, it was 2008, and can you imagine, this is like 2008, and Google did the serverless, what is called now serverless, in 2008 with App Engine. So App Engine, it was working on Python 2, and then that now it's called first generation. And then people wanted something more flexible, so Google created what is called App Engine Flexible. App Engine Flexible, it uses containers. We will see that in next session, bi'idhnillah. And then people wanted something like in what they did in first generation without containers, but much more flexible. So Google created then App Engine second generation. So App Engine second generation, this is something like this. So in first generation, it was sandboxed. You know, the problem is that when we use containers, because at the end it's a container, we have some security that we take in consideration. So in the first generation in 2008, Google released App Engine with a proprietary technology. And then the number of libraries, Python libraries, for example, it was limited. This is because for security reasons, you need to use the runtime that Google offers you. And then with time, when Google App Engine migrated to the second generation, it became more flexible, so you can use your own libraries. And the transition, if you already have an application on App Engine, you can make the transition to the second generation or directly go to the products that we will see later, which is Cloud Run or Cloud Function or directly to GKE to support the hybrid cloud. And now we will directly talk about App Engine in general. We are not going to bring the transition or all that, because our objective today is to talk about Python, not about App Engine. But this is just a notice about App Engine. So App Engine, there is the first generation, and then there is the flexible, and then there is the second generation. So by default, we will always talk about the second generation because this is the code. So how it was working, this is just easy. You just need to come here, App Engine, and then you upload your code. The code you upload, it's using the SDK. So here is an example. So let me shut this. And then here is what we were doing. So you just need to install Gcloud Sdk. So to install Gcloud Sdk, you just come here, Gcloud Sdk, you type on Google, and then you will have this tutorial how to install the SDK. So the SDK, this is the way to interact to Google Cloud using the console. So we will see other easiest ways. Because you are a developer, that means that you need some commands, but don't worry. We call it serverless because you just need to do something like this. Gcloud app for App Engine, and then deploy, and that's it. You don't need to configure anything, because that's why we call it serverless. This is like, okay, you need to code, and we will take care about scalability. We will take care about managing the infrastructure and all that. So this is App Engine. So you just need to write your code and type Gcloud app deploy, and it will work. So the second way, I will not focus on App Engine because you will see that in a few minutes, because I will talk more on about the way how we do it in 2022. So the second way, this is using, let me close this. So the second way, this is using Compute Engine. So the Compute Engine, you just need this is what we call infrastructure as a service. So App Engine, this is called platform as a service. This is something like you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. You just need to make your code and we will take care about everything. The infrastructure as a service, on the other hand, this is like to have much more flexibility. So if we come here, we just need to create an instance. So this is the equivalent for VMware Workstation or VirtualBox, or Virt Manager for people using the Virt Manager on Linux. So you just need to create an instance, configure it, give it the RAM you want, and then you just need to hit create. It will create a new virtual machine that you can host your application and type your code, and you go to your machine you access to your machine using SSH. So let's create a simple machine to make you a demonstration. So let's create a simple one, E1, E2 with 1 giga of memory. But as you can see, you can go for, let me show you something. So let's memory optimized, for example. And as you can see, this is a 5 terabyte of memory. It will cost, because in cloud, you measure by hours. So don't worry about this. This is by hours, because you host your machine, it will run for, you need it for 1 hour, that's fine. If you need it for exactly 1 hour or 2 hours, you just came to management here, and then you, where is it? So, okay, you just need to hit this spot. Check this out, $46 the hours. So it will become $9 hour. Can you imagine, you have this machine, you have a machine with 5 terabyte. I even ignored what comes after. This is almost 6 terabytes of memory for $9 for an hour. But it will run for 24 hours. So in case you need just 2 hours, 3 hours, you just go with those kind of machines that are called preemptible. So let me come back. For general purpose, let's create just a simple machine. Let's come to, we can change the disk, we can install anything. So for example, we can install Debian, we can install a bunch of other operating system, for example, Ubuntu, to replicate what I have on my machine. Ubuntu, let's choose 22.04, which is an LTS. And here you can use NVMe or the old HDDs. So let's choose this one, 40 gigabyte, select, and then let's create this machine. Let's allow HTTP, and let's just, yeah, we can run it for 1 hour, that's fine. Let's create it. It will install Ubuntu with an IP address, and that's it. You just access to your machine using SSH. Now let's wait to be ready, and then you do whatever you want. So let's wait for this. It will run because it's a virtual machine, so it will bring all the resources it needs. I just reserved 1 giga of memory because we just need to test. And this machine is free, by the way. So if you come here and type GCP free tier, you can find all the always free. It's called always free. That means that even if you use it for 3 months, the trial, you can use this. So let's come to compute engine. Let's search here. As you can see, this machine, a non-preemptible E2 micro, which has 1 giga of RAM with 30 gigabyte of disk, it will be free. So that's it. You can try it. You can do whatever you want. So let's come back here. Let's SSH to this machine. I guess you know what is SSH. This is secure shell. This is to make commands to a distant Linux machine. So, but in case you are using Windows, then you just need to install RDP for remote desktop protocol. So Windows, it's RDP. Linux is it's SSH. So you can install anything. So here you can see I'm inside this machine. I'm already here. So here you just need to install anything. So if I type Python 3, as you can see, I already have Python 3. So if I do print hello, I can use my Python here, and that's fine. But people will say, hey, you need to install something. We need to see a web application, and that's easy. You just need to do sudo pipe pip for that tool that install dependencies, and then you do install, for example, Flask or Tornado, anything. And it seems, yeah, this is a basic installation, so I just need to do sudo apt install Python 3 pip. Let's try something else. Python 3.10. This. Okay, so sudo apt search for pipe. Okay, and package installer. Okay, let's grep. Don't worry about this. Grep install. So not this one. Anyway, this is just an instant. Let's install it. So install Python pip Ubuntu. Or let's just bring this online. So you just do get pip Python, something like this. It will take you to this project. So, or just type get pip download. It will take you to this page. Let me zoom. Here. You get this page. It's a Python file. You just copy it and you come back to my instance. So let's access to this instance. Let's SSH. Yeah, I think I closed the old window. So now that I can install my, by the way, this version, this way, it will bring you the latest version of pip, which is the package install manager. Here you are. It was hiding. Let's close this and let's keep using. So I just need to do wget and the file. And then now, if let me do that, let me do ls, I have this file, so I just need to run sudo python 3 and get pip. It will install the pip, which is the package installer tool for Python. So now I just hit sudo pip install, and let's install Flask, for example. And here we are. We just installed Flask. I need to install, for example, Tornado, which is a web server too, a web server and micro framework. And now let's come back to the initial zoom. Let's clean this. And now, if I come here and do, for example, Tornado, all that, we will see that in detail for next session. And then let me copy this. This is the hello world. Let me copy this and let me paste it in our virtual machine here. And let's do nano hello.py. Then let's paste it here and let's try this, for example, 1818, because this is the most used in Google Cloud. And then let's run Python 3 hello. And we just run our first application. So if I try now to get access to this machine let's skip this, let's delete that. If I try to get access here, as you can see, I cannot. Why? Because I didn't configure Apache or Nginx to redirect. So let's try 1880. Why it doesn't work? Because this is the firewall. So I need to do some stuff here for our infrastructure. So I need just to come to my network, so to VPC network, and then come to the firewall and open this port, which is 1880. So I just come here and then let's create a new rule and then allow 1818. Let's call it allow 1818, and then I need ingress, allow, and target tag. I don't need that, so I just do web server because we can need that after. And then I need the traffic from everywhere, something like that. And then the specified protocol, we need the port 1818. And then we create. This is just a simple firewall rule. We allow the traffic that comes from 1818. So as you can see, it's creating the firewall now. Let's stop this from loading. And once it gets created, this, and it allows from anywhere. So let's redo that. Let's check what happens here. Need that. Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, it seems I need a few minutes. Okay, let's not do that. So let's wait to be loaded. Now let's run it in a parallel way without using an IP address. We can use it locally on Google Cloud without using Compute Engine. To do that, I just need to enable Cloud Shell, and here I do the same. So I tell him which Python, because this is a different version of virtual machine. So let's get the version. This is the Python 3.9. And now here, let's do sudo pip install tornado. It will install tornado. And then let's replicate what we did. Let's do nano hello.py. We already pasted this. And then let's just do python hello.py. Okay. So, sorry, we need Python 3, not Python 2, because the default is a tornado. So let's do sudo python 3-m pip install tornado. Okay, now it should work. And now we just need to hit here. You see this button? We click here and then we do preview on port 1818 because we're on this port. And here we are. So we just need to wait, and here we are. We have our first application. But this is the old way. We are just initializing a virtual machine and then we are running our code. What we need here, we need the new way. And the new way, this is using containers. So I just went to the old way using App Engine and then Compute Engine, and then we can even using Cloud Shell. By the way, Cloud Shell, this is a temporary virtual machine. It will not last. So you cannot host for real an application. It will not last forever. This is a temporary virtual machine. So if I do, for example, let me sorry for this. So let me do free-h. And as you can see, this is a temporary machine which has 30 giga of RAM. So 60 giga of RAM, sorry. So this is a strong machine, but it's temporary. So if you shut down this instance, it will go. But if you, so let me exit this. But if you want something persistent, then you need to use Compute Engine. So Compute Engine, this is for something that you want forever. And then let me try something here. Instance, let me edit. So let me zoom so you can see what I'm doing. And let me affect to this machine a tag which is web server. So network, hello, HTTP, yeah, HTTP server. So let me add web server and let's save. Because I think the firewall, the rule that we created, we gave it web server and not HTTP server. So let's check it again. Let's check again VPC and firewall and yeah, web server. So let's try again. 1818. Yeah, now it works. Yeah, now we have a machine that has an IP address that we can access. But earlier, when we used Cloud Shell, in reality, when you see this button, this one, the web preview, it works on localhost, which means that it uses the 127.0.0.1, which is a loopback address. What that means that no one can access to your machine. You need to redirect. So those two ways to do that. Now let's see how it works using containers, using Cloud Functions and using Cloud Run. So let's exit here. Before we need to do that, we need to do what we already do in our machine. So I will go to my own machine and try to do something and then try to replicate, because we have something called development and then we have what we call production. So we need to practice in our machine and then go to the cloud and then deploy our work. So for this, let me try what I did earlier. Let me create this. Let me pass. Let me go to Tornado. Let me copy this. I don't need that anymore. Let me come back here and let's copy it. And then I want not 888, 8080. This is what uses the most in Cloud Run and Cloud Function. So this is by default. Let's do that. And then if I run Python hello.py, it will run. So what I do now, I just need to open the browser and then type localhost 1880. And then I have my application. But what if I want now to go to the cloud? Let me show you now the instruction one by one. Don't do that when you want to host your application. Why? Because here I'm using my global interpreter Python. And the dependencies, this is not exactly what I need. Maybe I installed some dependencies that I don't really need them. So to do that, I need first to enable a virtual environment. So how I did that in last session, we did Python 3 -m-venv, and then we asked it, for example, my first app. It will create a new environment variable and reaffect a new interpreter. So to do that, I need to enable it now. So source, so if I do ls, as you can see, I have a new folder. So if I do cd my first app and then do ls, you can see that I have a new folder with this file bin. So if I do cd bin, I will find this activate. I need that. So let me go back like this. So I need to do source and then my first bin activate. Now I just activated my new environment. Now if I do pip install tornado, it will install it on this new environment. So once you installed all the dependencies you need, so if I do now Python, let me show you something, which Python? And as you can see, I am not using the system Python. I'm using the new environment I just created. Once you do that, and once you install everything using pip, you just need to do pip freeze. What does pip freeze? It will bring you what you all installed using pip. And since this is just in the console, we need to redirect this result to a file called requirements.txt. So I guess we don't need this. Now, if I do cat requirement, I will find this file. So if I wanted to replicate what I just did here, I just need to do pip install -r and then requirements. So what it does, it will go to this file and find all the dependencies and install them one by one. So for example, let me show you something. For example, I did pip install Flask. And then I needed something on Google Cloud. What I do, I come back here and I search for this link. So if I come here, I just need to type GCP Python libraries. It will take you to this page, Python Cloud Client Libraries, and then you choose what you need. So if I need, for example, let's say cloud storage. So cloud storage, let's come here and type storage. As you can see, I just need this library, Google Cloud Storage. So I copy this link, I come back here, and then I do pipe install Google Cloud Storage. By the way, notice that I don't use sudo. Why? Because I'm in an independent environment which I control. This is not a system environment. This is a user environment. So with this way, I will not break my Python installation. So as you can see, he just installed all the dependencies I need to use with Cloud Storage API. Now, once everything gets installed and I'm happy with my code, I just need to do Pip Freeze. And it will bring me all the dependencies plus their version. And this is, as I said in the last session, always include the version that worked with you. Don't leave this without a version. Because, for example, let's say Flask, in next year, it becomes, for example, Flask 4. And then in Flask 4, they will deprecate some functionality. So, but in your code, you tried it using Flask 2. And here you need to explicitly tell him, I need Flask 2.1.2, nothing else. So since we freeze this, we need to redirect this to this file. I just type this. So requirement. So let's just, okay, and I will do that. And by the way, if I want to not overwrite, I just append. But don't do that because you will have duplicate entries. So now I just need to do pip install -r and then requirement. And it will go on all the dependencies I need, it will install them. Once you did that, you just need to take your code and bring it to Google Cloud. How we do that? Let me go here. Let's close all that. And let me now show you the first way using Cloud Function. So I come to Cloud Function. By the way, Cloud Function, there is a new generation, second generation. It was announced in Google I/O 2022. We will do a session, inshallah, about it, where there are many integration with Cloud Run, and it's becoming much more powerful. So I just need to create a function, and then here I can choose first generation or second generation. We will go in details next time. I need an HTTP trigger. That means that this function needs to be triggered using a click. I will allow an authenticated. Why? Because I just need to test. I don't need a web service. This is like, we will see what is microservice architecture where services communicate with each other. And then I do save. And as you can see here, the runtime in second generation changed. It was upgraded, but we don't need that for now. Let's put a timeout, something like 20 seconds. I don't want to run it more than 20 seconds. And let's save. And now in the build, now here, let's do next. And then it will give me what I need. So let's choose Python 3.9. or 3.10. I just used 3.10. And here, what I will do, I will come to my code. I will do cat hello. And I copy my code. I copy what I did. Let me zoom in. Okay, sorry. Okay, here. Let me copy this. And then let's go back here. Google Cloud. I don't need that. I need the other instance. Here, let's pass this. And then, since we need some dependencies, let's come to requirements. And then here, let's open our requirements. So let's do cat requirements. And then I need a better. So let's copy all this. Copy and paste this. And we are done. So we just replicated what we did, but this is the manual way. I will show you the automatic way in just after this. And then we run deploy, and we just deployed our first replicated function that we already used on our machine. But if we want something better again, we come here, and instead of doing all that, we create a container. And for this, we need a Docker file. But I will leave that in next sessions where we are going to go deeper in serverless. And once we do that, we just run Gcloud. And then since we need cloud function, so we saw app for App Engine, we saw compute for Compute Engine, compute for Compute Engine, and now we need functions. And then I just need to deploy this, and it gets deployed. If I come now here, it's getting deployed. So what happens now? Google Cloud will upload my source code to Google Cloud Storage. It will create a container using Cloud Build, and it will deploy it. It will create a new version, and then it will host it on Google Cloud Registry. And then every time I click on this, it will bring me to my version. I don't need to break my head and stand in what's going on. I just need to write the code, run, deploy, and it will work. And that's why we call it serverless. It says, hey, don't worry about all this architecture. Just bring me your code and it will work. And by the way, sorry, I forgot earlier when I talked about App Engine. Before you can use Python with App Engine, you need to install this. So you need to do Gcloud and then component install, or let me list first. So they are, there is a component that is called, let me come back to automatic zoom. Okay, and this is what we need, App Engine Python. So I just need to copy this. Let me zoom again, and then do the same earlier, and then do install this one, App Engine Python. And since it's already installed, nothing to do again. And then here you can use Python with App Engine. So if I come back now here, first generation, there is an issue. I think I have an issue, no problem. It's in a build, so I got some issues. Let's come to the log and see why it crashed. I think I did some, okay. Cannot be initialized. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, sorry. Because in Cloud Function, I need an entry point. An entry point, this is the name of, let's re-upload this. So let's reinitialize something like this. Okay, here, this is not the hello world. We need to create a function to upload this. So let's just correct our mistake. So let's do main.py, and let's create requirements. .txt, and then in main.py, we need, when we pass our code here, we need to create a function, because this is my function I need to deploy. Anyway, we will do that next time. We are out of time. Sorry for that. This is just, we need to put the name of the function here. I was doing it bad. Sorry again. Now let's see the other way, which is Cloud Run. And here, this is the future of serverless, and this is my favorite tool. So the difference between Cloud Function and Cloud Run is about scalability. But now, after the announcement in Google I/O, you can scale the second generation of Cloud Function too. So here, the idea is that now, instead of using one function by one container, now I can use the whole application inside the container. This is like Kubernetes, but in easiest way, because this product, which is called GKE, Kubernetes Engine, this is a managed service where you use Kubernetes and you manage it. And then you use the container, the pods, and all that stuff. But in Cloud Run, you don't need to know anything about Kubernetes. You just run the code as you are doing in App Engine. And for this, you just need to do Gcloud run and then deploy. And that's it. You just need to do that. It will go and upload everything. So if I do this, so source code here, yes. And then service name, yes. And as you can see, the new way, I can even deploy using a source code. I don't need to create a container, because in the past, what happens if I come here and then create a service, you will see what happens. It tells me, give me the container URL. The container URL, you can host it on Docker, you can bring it to GCR, to Google Container Registry. You can host it on the new way, which is called Artifact Registry, this one. So let me show you this. Container Registry, this is the old way. Now it's called Artifact Registry. You host your containers, your Docker image, or as we call them, Docker image. But by the way, let me show you one thing. In the past, if we wanted to create a container image, by the way, a container image, this is what we use, and container itself, this is what runs in the RAM. So when we say container, it's in the RAM. When we say an image, this is in the disk. So we just use Docker build, and then we give him the T, my app, and then we give him a version, and then we do something like this. So what happens, it builds a container image based on a Docker file. So it needs to find this file, Docker file, where we give him instruction about the layers. We will see all that in next session. But now you can build your container without using Docker. So here, what you just need, you need to do Gcloud and then builds, and then you tell him what you are going to submit. You will submit your Docker file. It will go here. It will go first to Cloud Build. It will build the container. It will host it in either Container Registry or Artifact Registry. And then you come to App Engine, to Cloud Run, and you tell him, I want to use that. So if you do select, it will give you, as you can see, this is what we just hosted in Cloud Function, the one that didn't work it. And we can use a demo container. So here we can create a container and host it on, run it on Cloud Run, because it's already hosted in GCR or Artifact Registry. But with the new way, you just tell him, I want to deploy using a source. So what happens? It will check what is the type of your file. And in our case, it will be Python. So what happens? Google Cloud will create a container that needs Python dependencies and all that stuff without worrying about the container itself. And this way, that's what we call build pack, that we will talk about them in details. So those are the ways how we write our code and then host it on Google Cloud. But Google Cloud, this is not only the serverless Cloud Function, Cloud Run, App Engine, or the engine. This is also the AI, the artificial intelligence. Why? Because many people go to Python because they use TensorFlow or they use scikit-learn. So for this, they just come to a product, a Google Cloud product that's called Vertex AI. So if I come to AI here, this is the new way to use AI, and I think there is a session about Vertex AI that you can check. What uses Vertex AI? It will use TensorFlow or scikit-learn or XGBoost, all those libraries, but you can still get AI for free from Python using Colab. So you just type Python Colab Google, and then it will bring you to this. And Colab, this is the way how to execute Python for free on Google, because it will create containers. So it's indirectly in Google Cloud. In reality, it's in Google Cloud. So if I do new notebook, I will show you one thing which is the best thing that you can find in the industry. So if I zoom here and you choose runtime and then you do change runtime type, as you can see, you can either choose GPU because you can do AI and want to accelerate it. So instead of buying a laptop with NVIDIA and invest a lot of money, you just need to use this. Or even better, you can use TPU. TPU are called Tensor Process Unit. This is especially designed for TensorFlow and the neural network, but there is a limitation. When it's free, you cannot run it in background. So that means that you cannot just close the window and go and then come back and find it running. You need to keep it open. So if you want then to go for this option, then you go for the paid version of Colab. Or you just need to use the Vertex AI, because the difference between Colab here and Vertex AI is when it's on Google Cloud platform, that means that you can interact with all those products. But Colab, this is specially designed for people who want to do only TensorFlow or scikit-learn or NumPy or SciPy or Matplotlib and all those tools about AI. So that's it for today. I showed you several ways how to run Python. And by the way, Colab, this is the equivalent. Let me show you the comparison. So I just need to run, let me deactivate this environment, and then let me run sudo Jupyter notebook, or no, I don't need sudo. So this command, if you already used it, it will create a notebook. Here is the notebook. I just need to run a new Python 3. And as you can see, I'm in localhost. That means that I'm in local. And then if I do, for example, print hello, and then I use, instead of using enter, I will use shift enter, and I just executed a Python code. If I want to do that online, as you can see, this is the same. New and sorry. And if I come here, and let me come back to Colab, I just need to do new notebook, and it will load a new one. And I will just have the same. As you can see, this is just the CSS, which is different. If I do print, and then I do hello, and then I do shift enter, it will allocate me a container and it will run using Python 3 on Compute Engine backend. So as you can see, I just need the first time that connects and that's it. I'm connected, and as you can see here, let's check my resources. So as you can see, I have 12 gigabytes of RAM for free, and I have 100 gigabytes. This is free. So if I rerun something, hello, let me copy this so I can show you that it only takes time the first time because it needs to connect, and congratulations, you just use Python for free. And then in case you want to work offline, you just come here on file, and then you download the notebook either in Google Drive or save it offline and do the inverse. For example, I work it here and then I need to upload it. I just come to file, upload the notebook, and then I will just choose the file and it will work. So we saw all, there are other ways, but I just wanted to show you the different ways we need. So to recap, if you want to use application on web application on Google Cloud, you just need App Engine. This is the old way. You go with the second generation or flexible if you want to use containers. You use Compute Engine, you create a machine, and then you SSH to this machine. You configure your IP address. You do the firewall. This is the old way, how we were hosting websites. And then you do whatever you want because it's just a virtual machine. And then you want to use Kubernetes in advanced way. You have GKE, Kubernetes, Google Kubernetes Engine. You want to use each container with one single function, you use Cloud Function. This is good for triggering. For example, I want to upload the picture and then resize it. I don't need to wait until it uploads to click. So here it will be triggered. So as soon as it uploads, I run something. This is what we call an event-driven architecture. You want to run your code using the way you like it in App Engine, but in 2022 way, then you go with Cloud Run. You don't need to worry about containers, but this is what we call container as a service. So in reality, it creates container. So to create a container, either you choose to use Cloud Build and then create the container and then give him the path of the container where it's hosted, or you just use build packs where you just do Gcloud, something like this. Quit this, where you just need to do Gcloud run for Cloud Run, and then you do deploy, and then you tell him where is the source code, and it will understand everything and upload your code. And now if you want to do AI, so if you want to stay on Google Cloud, then you go with Vertex AI. By the way, for people who didn't use Google Cloud for 1 year, for example, they were using here. So they came to AI platform. So AI platform, it's still here. The interface is here. So Vertex AI, this is when you come to Workbench. So if I click on Workbench, it takes me directly to Vertex AI. And here we are. I'm in Vertex AI now. I disabled the API because right now I don't use AI. And this is the concept in Google Cloud. It's APIs. So if you don't use an API, you disable it in case someone access to your account and then run it, so you will pay for that. Or if you want to be independent from Google Cloud, you just run it using Colab. And Colab, this is the online version of Jupyter, where you can run your cells here. Those are called cells, Python cells. And then you use AI, for example, TensorFlow, Matplotlib, NumPy, Scikit-learn, XGBoost, all that for free. So Of course, you have some limitations here. I think it's relative because saying 12 gigabyte, if you need more and then you need to pay, that means that you gain a lot of money. So in case you are just a student, that's perfect and it's free and you don't need a credit card to run this. So that was it. So let me check if you have any questions. So let me come here. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I just updated my operating system, so it's a mess. Okay. So do you have any questions? So if you have any questions, you can ask them in Arabic. إذا كانت لديكم أي أسئلة يمكنكم طرحها بالعربي بالإنجليزي. Okay, so today it was just something to show you that Python runs everywhere on Google Cloud. And the next session, then we start doing our application and then we host it in a practical way. So today it was just an introduction about where we can execute Python. And there is just a reminder that if you are using Python 2, you need to migrate to Python 3 because Python 2 is getting deprecated little by little. So you need to go to Python 3. I know the transition is difficult. So if you are not dependent from some third-party libraries, then it's time to migrate to Python 3. And the second thing is that always remember that if it can run a container, that means that it can run everywhere. So always try to develop on a containers on your machine using Docker, using anything that can run a container, and then go to the cloud. So you just need to take the Docker file to build your container, and that's it. So if you don't have questions, then thank you very much. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.